And I'll play one more video and then we'll get started. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next panel, Developing VR Arcade Games. We thought we would take a break for a little bit from the topic of COVID, and let's. How about we talk about some games, some video games? I think we all deserve a bit of a break. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you. And can you hear me
Awesome.
okay?
Yep.
Fantastic.
Awesome. So I guess we could start with some intros, starting with Sean. We played two videos earlier. Sean, would you like to explain or introduce yourself and sort of tell us a little bit about what the first video was about?
Yeah, so the first video was ours. I'm not so sure about the second video.
That one's
uh,
ours.
that one's yours. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Yeah, absolutely. So Maneuver Entertainment is a company that has its roots when we first started developing our first VR arcade game several years ago. And now we develop primarily free roam VR arcade games, as you saw in the video, with several different titles and several different types of solutions. Although we have set up also individual game stations, PC-based VR game stations at locations in a couple states, and also have a location in the Seattle area as well. And yeah, definitely excited to be up here. Thank you so much for having me up here today, and definitely honored to represent the Maneuver team today, and looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you, Sean. And quick intro on me focusing on the game development side of things. Hello, everybody. My name is Jeremy Lam. I'm founder and CEO of Virtual World Arcade. One of the things we do among a conference and other things is developing VR LBE games. The video that you saw earlier, the second video, is called RoboCats. It's a 4-player social team building block blasting game. It's family friendly and it sold us all of our corporate events and birthday parties from when we had our VR arcade and also from doing our corporate events even up to today. A lot of our game design and principles, which we'll get into together with Sean here at the Fireside Chat, revolves around being social. I think Brent Bushnell from Stupid Circus mentioned that they really focus on social experiences when they're at their location in LA. We focus on developing games that are social, that are team building, that create communication between team members, that teach kids leadership and communication skills. That's where we sort of find where our fun and our core gameplay mechanics. So yeah, so thank you for the intro. So let's dive right into it. I sort of alluded to this a little bit in my intro that we focus on family friendly. We do service adults at corporate events and kids at birthday parties. So Sean, with your games, could you tell us a little bit about the various titles that you have and also the target audience, the demographic,
Yeah,
age,
yeah.
things like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, so a range of target audiences. So some of our titles, we have a jungle title called Menagerie that's targeted at younger audiences. It's got more of a low poly theme. You're in the jungle. You've got magic wands. Everyone's running around in an arena, kind of casting spells at each other. And then for slightly older audiences, we've got more of a sci-fi theme, more of a that's called Cyborg Revolutions. You're shooting laser guns at each other. Nothing too scary in there, but definitely younger kids might be perhaps a little bit more afraid. And then for the uh, upcoming season, Maneuvers also developed a game called Asore, for Halloween, which is more of a horror-based game, and that one's very scary. I would definitely not recommend it for younger audiences.
Awesome, awesome. And it's so interesting when you bring up younger audiences. There appears to be, it's sort of two-sided. There appears to be, from a certain age level, from what we found, it's 6 and up. Kids 6 and up are able to understand VR, to understand when they put on the headset that they're in a video game. Whereas from what we've learned running our games at VR arcades and at events, is that kids like 5 will not understand what's going on and they'll get very scared, even if it's like
Mhm.
like a Steam VR Home or something like that, something very simple and not
Yes.
scary.
Yes.
But on the flip side, also with age, we found very enthusiastic kids, like 7, 8, 9 year olds who just jump in and start beating people up in drunken bar fight or shooting zombies and uh, the zombie shooters, Arizona Sunshine and such.
Yep.
Um, and whereas some adults, like a lot of adults, like the pro gamer adults will be shooting zombies no problem, but there's some adults that just completely freak out when they put on the headset and
Yes.
make a sound that you never knew they were capable of making. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, we've definitely seen plenty of that. Yeah, I guess one of the things that excites me most, that I love being in this industry is actually seeing people's reactions when they put on the headset for the first time. That's kind of, one of the driving forces for me is just the joy that I get in the diversity of experiences. Some people are very reserved, they're terrified, they walk extremely slowly. Others, man, they feel fully immersed. They'll completely lift up their leg to climb over virtual objects that they know is not really there, but they're fully immersed in the way that they act and go through. Yeah, and others are, yeah, they just laughing the whole time, smiling. They're just giggling. Yeah, the range of reactions, even for people who've put on VR headsets before, is yeah, just amazing in the arcade concept.
Absolutely. And so actually a segue from immersive VR, why VR? There are plenty of developers developing games for traditional PC platforms, for traditional consoles. So I'll pose this question to you, Sean. Why did you and your team decide to develop games for VR?
So the market that we went after initially was retrofitting laser tag arenas, and there's not really any PC or kind of home entertainment equivalent to that. Uh, those are still very much based in the physical realm. So people go out to play paintball or people go out to play laser tag, but laser tag is not something that you can easily reskin until now with virtual reality. Now that single laser tag arena that's showing its age over the last 30 years can now turn into anything, a museum, an education experience, dozens of games with different avatars, different skins. And that's where we're seeing a lot of excitement among current LBEs that have laser tag arenas looking to retrofit their arenas.
That's awesome. And sort of my own take on that is very similar. VR is you can get experiences in VR as really everybody in the room knows that you cannot get in traditional gaming. There are
Yeah.
things that we can do, especially with LBE, which is where we initially jumped into. Being able to be physically there with your friends, being able to run around and play VR games with your friends,
Mhm.
and use your legs to move, I think is one of the biggest advantages to LBE. There's something so powerful and so much fun and so rewarding about being able to use your legs to move around in the virtual world and explore this world with your
Yes.
own 2 legs and not, in your home with the joystick in traditional in-home gaming.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally. Yeah, and I
um,
saw
yeah.
a commercial by Oculus. I don't know if you all have seen it, but it shows how bad and dystopian the world of traditional video games is. Kind of everyone hunched over a controller. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but I
Mhm.
saw that. And then it shows virtual reality kind of breaking people free from just being a zombie in front of a screen and encouraging them to be more active and more present physically. So yeah, I think that commercial kind of really nailed the issue on the head, where it's like, hey, yeah, let's break out of this very closed, confined, traditional method of video games, and now moving into virtual reality where we are physical. Humans are meant to be physical. We have legs, we have arms, we have muscles. We're meant to move around in the physical world. And now computing is starting to catch up with that. It's starting to, I would say computing has arrived and is taking a much more human form factor, whether it's in VR or AR. And it's a very exciting time to be alive right now.
Absolutely. And so, I'll ask a sort of the next level down of that question, which is why VR LBE? Why specifically design games for the free roam or for multiple people co-located in the same space in a location-based entertainment center? Why do that
I,
rather than
I think really it comes down to the fact that the number one, the sky is the limit. Well, and number two, costs are, because the sky is the limit, the cost is also much lower than setting up, a bunch of physical arcades. For the first time in history, your arcade could actually be a completely empty room. And you
Mhm,
can have an
mhm.
infinite number of experiences in there. And I do believe that, we're going to see more and more of that, less of the physical big boxes that takes labor to set up, that takes a lot of maintenance, and we're going to start seeing things going completely virtual or even completely holographic with AR headsets in the future. And yeah, the sky's the limit as to what you can do, and the scope and the sizes of the experiences. So I believe what we're doing now is just the very beginnings of that, and there's so much opportunity and potential to be realized with this technology.
Absolutely. Sort of to comment on that point, we develop both for in-home games. We have our game Riori, which is a VR monster battle card game, which we have a tournament this Saturday and a booth down there if you want to join our Discord to join the tournament. So that's our in-home game, and we also have our game on platforms like Springboard and Synthesis, so that we don't really have to do much, and that gets played at the VR arcades. But we also develop from the ground up VR LBE games like the RoboCats that you saw earlier, 4-player arena scale, co-located, running around, really taking advantage of the VR LBE space and really designing it so that it's fun to play, fun to replay, fun to
Mhm.
play together, and fun to watch. That's really
Yes.
what we saw was one of the biggest selling points is if what you create, the people running around and they're yelling and screaming and laughing and having fun, that's going to get people to buy ticket to who
Yes.
watch that.
Yep. Absolutely.
So what would you say is your in terms of game design principles, and perhaps you could pick one of your games as an example. What are your what's your core principle game design principles? What's the most important thing
Yeah.
when designing a game for you?
For us, it's really about keeping the experience very simple.
Mhm.
Virtual reality in itself is already uh, complicated. For people who don't know anything about it, even just putting on the headset itself before even getting into VR, that in itself is new to a lot of people, right? So recognizing that, yeah, maybe, in the future when everyone's used to it, then we can start making things a lot more complicated. But for now, it's about keeping things really simple. So, everything that we do is not about, hey, you got to press this button, go to this menu. We don't do any of that. You literally put on the headset and you're in. Everything is very simple. There's only pretty much one button, that's the trigger, and you've got a shield. But yeah, our principle is keep it as simple and straightforward as possible, and let the players have their own fun, right? By running around and doing things through, not through pressing buttons or selecting menu items, but just through walking around, reaching out their hands and touching things.
Absolutely, and I think that's especially true for LBE because it's people's first time. Because usually, typically the experience may be 5-10 minutes, or I'm not sitting in VR for hours and hours, and I have it at home and I could spend a lot of time on it. Being able to put on the headset and immediately know what what to do, the discoverability of the controls. Oh, this is like for example, RoboCats, our game. No buttons. You just punch. You
Yep.
punch and you walk. Those are things that you already know how to do. So we really design on those discoverability and usability principles. And then beyond that, our studio chooses to prioritize the fun of the gameplay and the replayability of the gameplay mechanics, uh, and then uh, and then polish it up to make it look good. But um, our experiences, our content is typically a game rather than experience. It's more about the gameplay mechanics and people having fun in it rather than, oh, it looks really cinematic and it feels like
Yep.
a movie or something like that. That's sort of
Yeah.
how we do things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the other thing is, we try to make our games more of a sport, right? So
Hmm.
we add in it's simple enough that you can pick it up quickly, but there's a lot of ways that you can skill up and really become good at it. A lot of running around, ducking strategies, and the reason why we wanted to make it more of a sport is because we don't want this to be a cinematic experience where you come one time to experience something amazing and you try and you go home just like watching a movie. You're not going to go back and watch the same movie 10 times, maybe 2 times if you really liked it, but even that, I can't remember the last time I watched a movie twice. But with a sport, you keep going back over and over and over again. So retention, repeatability, being able to have people go back and want to keep doing it over and over, that's really kind of what we're targeting with the experiences we're developing.
Yeah, and I think our studio is very much the same vein. Yeah, totally agree with you there. Could you explain a little bit more about your setup? You mentioned it's a Oculus Quest setup, right? Could you explain that a little bit?
Uh,
How many players?
yeah, so it actually, yeah, so our system, it's actually the same exact application, but it runs on multiple devices. It's actually it's fun. It's a fun journey that we've taken. We've taken our game. We started it with Windows mixed reality VR headsets, and then we ported it to the Hololens, and then we ported it to run on Android VR devices. So the Lenovo Mirage Solo was our first 6 degree of freedom VR device standalone that it ran on, and of course now we're doing Quest. But really, it's designed to run on a range of headsets. Quest, of course, is very popular, but other Android headsets, we're looking very closely at as well. But our secret sauce is actually in the tracking system, because right now the standalone VR headsets don't have very good, or don't have at all, any localization, to spatially align people and avatars and making sure you don't bump into walls and obstacles. So we've spent a considerable amount of effort and energy in our tracking system. We have got a sensor that we put on top of the device, which I'm sure some of you saw in the video earlier. But yeah, that ensures that within just a few milliseconds, if there's any drift or at all, or if there's any misalignment, you immediately get snapped back in to ensure that a bunch of players can play within very close proximity of each other and never ever lose tracking, never bump into a wall, never bump into an obstacle, and maintain kind of rock solid tracking and alignment.
Awesome. And just a cap off, our game RoboCats runs 4 players on Vive backpacks and Oculus Quest. We just got our Quest 2, so we're working on that soon as well. Um, in in closing, I'll let sort of Sean, you take it away. What do you see as the vision of VR content moving forward, whether LBE or in home? There's so many possibilities, but what do you see
Yeah.
in the future of VR content?
Yeah, so I see that I'm really excited that this is essentially the beginning of the inflection point where things are really starting to rise. But yeah, the future of content, I do believe we're going to continue to see increases in leveraging new graphics capabilities. Games will start looking more and more realistic over time. They'll be more powerful, more vast. But really, the magic with VR is kind of what I said earlier, is the ability to do so much in your same space without any physical equipment there. Right. So just having the headset and an empty space is all you need, and everything else, the sky's the limit. And I really believe that as time progresses and as more developers like you and I and so many other people, there'll be a vast room for a whole lot of developers and a whole ecosystem, a whole industry to develop a lot of content. There's going to be and players, as even kids these days, uh, they are always eager for the next new thing, for novel things. So I think the appetite for content is going to be extremely vast. And to be honest, we don't even have enough people in the industry right now to satisfy that vast craving for new content. So I think there's going to be a lot of room for novelty, and for just an unlimited supply of ideas and experiences and things that are maybe mind bending that we haven't even thought about yet, that will only be possible with VR in an empty room.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sean, for joining me on this fireside chat about VR arcade games. If you want to learn more about Sean's games or services and products, you're interested in trying them out, they have booths over there in the expo. Same with us, we have booths in the expo as well if you're interested in learning more about our games as well. Yeah, thank you so
Fantastic.
much,
Thank you
Sean.
so
Thank
much,
you.
Jeremy. I really appreciate
Thank you.
you having us today. Thank you.